Hello and welcome to another interview episode. Today we've got Stani Kulechov, the founder of Aave and Lens Protocol. Stani, it's a pleasure. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks, Chris, for having me here. I'm a super big fan of yours, and I collect a lot of your videos on lenstube. So excited to be here.
That means a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So for people who don't know who you are, just real quick, less than 10 seconds, you've started Aave and Lens Protocol, and then let's dig into what is Lens Protocol, what is Web3 Social, and why do we need these?
Yeah, so I'm an innovator in this space. So I've been building for the past few years, mainly on the decentralized finance side. So Aave protocol obviously is quite well known DeFi protocol that allows you to supply cryptographic assets and earn yield on those assets without giving up custody and using a transparent blockchain-based protocol. And it stores now billions worth of value in the smart contracts as well, and is governed by the Aave DAO, which is incredible. And then Lens Protocol is solving another kind of a problem we have. So the way we see that we people, we love to connect, whether it's in real life and online. And I think we connect even more online than we do in real life. And we're using platforms where we create a lot of we share our identities, we create a lot of social capital, content, we share news, but something that we don't have is the actual ownership of our network that we create. So Lens Protocol is giving that ownership to the users. So you can create a profile that is secured by the blockchain, and also your audience is secured by the blockchain. So whoever follows you and whoever you distribute your content to, that carries with you whichever application you are using on Lens, or if Lens is integrated in any application, which is quite cool because it means that not only you have the ownership, but you can create different kinds of ways to monetize your content, which is incredible for creators. But at the same time, it really puts us who build these applications to think about, what could be the best experience to keep you on a application or a platform. So that's in short what Lens is. There's roughly 116,000 profiles minted. It's on Polygon. It's still in beta, so it's not completely publicly yet, but it's been quite interesting now since it's less than a year from the launch itself.
And why is the ownership such an important aspect?
I think ownership is important because it really changes the dynamics of how we create content and how we value the content itself. So in the current world, what I see is happening is that we're using a lot of the social media platforms, and we are creating content there. We're giving a lot of data. We're sharing and amplifying content. And these social media platforms, they have become kind of like a public town squares, but in a way where the platform really controls the algorithms and also how your content gets visibility, but you can't really leave the platform without retaining your audience that you created over the past years with your hard work on publishing content, for example. So I think once you change the dynamics in a way where that piece of infrastructure doesn't belong anymore to the platform itself, but the platform can or an application can leverage that infrastructure, but it belongs to the user. It changes the dynamics in a way where the applications, they need to really think how to get more alignment with their users, and especially with the creators, because that is something that is actually an area where creators has been producing most of the content online, but aren't getting the benefit and of that value capture and capitalization almost at all at this point. but I think like mostly for the mainstream users, I think if we are able to create more better ways and easier ways to own content and monetize it, we will see more incentives to actually come to Web3 and use Lens as a Web3 social layer. And that way we will see new experiences and more incentivized content as well, which means that that way we get more people into using Web3 social down the line, because the experiences are more novel and it's faster to build Web3 social applications. So that's what I'm thinking about, where things might move into adoption. So mainstream necessarily don't need to care about the ownership, but it's baked in. But because the incentive network is so strong for creators to come and create content, that creates better content liquidity, which gets mainstream adoption as well.
Absolutely. And then what do you think it'll take to get to mainstream adoption? And how will we know, when we've succeeded as Web3?
Besides having a infrastructure that is for the benefit of the users and creators, for example, the other thing is the experiences itself. So developers play a big role in the Lens ecosystem. In fact, our very first users were developers that really wanted to play around with the protocol and build various kinds of applications. And for example, the Lenster as an app, it's an open source application built by one engineer during a hackathon. It's open source. Anyone can just fork it and create their own version of it. So think about the same way as you could go to Reddit and just take Reddit and create a modified version for your own community. But down the line, what's interesting is that these developers are constantly putting more and more effort on building new social experiences. So we've seen a lot of things that has been recreated of existing social media landscape into more Lens-powered Web3 social-powered applications. Lenstube is a good example of that. But now we're seeing more and more clients and mobile applications built on top of Lens actually starting to gauge their audiences. So they create different focus points and also will start seeing new experiences. And I think there's one application called Enzo Collective. So they actually want to create a digital closet for users. So you can actually collect NFTs that have a physical item attached into that, which is basically clothes, and you can collect them and add into your wardrobe. So it just showcases that many of the future experiences might be a bit more novel, and what it means is that they might not be directly social media applications, but they have this social layer through Lens protocol. And because you're already using one of these applications, you can easily just use something new that is built, because you don't really need to jump out of the network, but you're in the same social graph in that sense. And every single application built on Lens or integration actually expands its user base, but benefits the existing users. So I think it's building those new experiences and better onboarding is how we get closer to more regular users.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Enzo's a super cool app. Been chatting with them a little bit lately as well. And you've mentioned before in interviews that, way back in the day you had kind of played around with and worked on, social apps, social network type deal. What about building Lens has kind of surprised you so far? And then, you touched on it with some of these new kind of app use cases being built, but where do you think that the ecosystem's headed in general?
Yeah, I think it's starting to come to a point where we see some of these integrations and applications that are taking a bit their own interpretation of what they want to show to the end users and what type of content is important for them. So I'm very surprised, for example, to see Butterfly focusing quite a lot on the music side, and they created this very beautiful music player and actually super excited how much progress it has been, because Butterfly is developed by ZeroXMo, who is just one developer in the team, and has been able to create very smooth experience, and also highlighting different creators that are specifically in the kind of like a music part of the social graph. And same, for example, with Orb, they're in general putting more focus on creators, and also they're working on building actually an algorithm as well. So if you think about the Lens protocol, it's a big ocean of data, and it's up to the applications and their use cases to decide how to use that data and how to compute. So you don't necessarily need everything that exists in Lens for your user base, but you might want to curate, for example, a specific audience and tailor them a specific use case. And what's extremely exciting for me is what I'm being closely monitoring is the content supply chain. So, for example, that in the future you could create a content, for example, on, let's say, lenstube, the open source desktop web application, and you can set their monetization settings. Someone can mirror it in another mobile application, let's say on Butterfly, and then someone will collect the content on Orb, because a particular algorithm might find that content for you, discovery. So what happens here in the content supply network, supply chain, is that the collect fees could be shared between the application that is collecting it, the algorithm that the application might be using, an open source algorithm, for example, and rewarding the builders of the algorithm, the application where a user could have mirrored that content and the mirrorer, and then the original application where the content was created and the creator. So and then you can also add split fees, so that creator even can add additional ways to split fees between other creators or who contributed into that work. And you can already do that, by the way, we all know, on the Lens ecosystem. So this all just changes completely the way we think about and create content today, and just incentivizes every single thing that is in part of that content supply chain process. So I think that's where we're heading at in the ecosystem.
And then how do you think, or what things have you seen that creators have done well to kind of take advantage of all these powerful tools that Lens offers them?
I'm super surprised about the curiosity of creators and how much actually they care about Lens. That's been super surprising. So we started from pretty much ground zero. So we built the protocol for beta on mainnet, and it's been interesting to follow that. When we launched the protocol, there wasn't a single application built. We started to see clients being built, mobile apps, different kinds of tooling. You can see who are in your close network in Lens, data tools as well, and just seeing the whole ecosystem to grow. And one of our fears has been that, what will happen if we build the protocol without an actual app. But we've seen that it actually is better because it gives space for other builders and developers to come and build those interesting experiences. And from the creators' perspective, I've been super surprised how, given the state, how early everything has been, creators are the most active ones on Lens, including engineers, that they are actively engaging with the audience and sharing content and dropping content on Lens directly. So that's been super surprising how much they care about what we build and believe in it. And I've, as a creator myself, I used to create decent amount of music. I used to be a DJ for 5 years, so I can kind of understand the curiosity angle that comes to creators. But it's been amazing to see that how much they're excited about Lens and sharing content.
Absolutely. And then a lot of people, when they think about Lens, the first immediate use case they think is social media. But Lens is trying to be much bigger than just social media, right? The entire social layer for Web3. How, and that was one of the things that got me most interested about Lens in the very beginning, was I realized how many developers were building different apps and different use cases. Where do you think that ecosystem is headed? And are there maybe some ideas or alpha that you can share that, somebody who is interested in building an app on Lens could kind of take and run with?
Yeah, something that's fascinating is that we wanted to engage the community in the beginning to build specific experiences to showcase that how Web3 social could actually function with a similar user experience that we expect any mobile or online application. So, for example, when you post content on Lens, you don't sign messages, you don't pay for gas, and the content is reflected right away. And all the blockchain logic is abstracted away from the users. And this is a new thing. This is something that we actually had to design in our minds and kind of like evangelize across the ecosystem, that we have to build very standardized experiences. And that's the kind of like a floor. And there's no actually ceiling for what the user experience can be. I mean, if you go to dumpling.lol, that's an example that there's like a TV that is on Lens, and pretty much you can swap change between channels. I think you have a channel there as well, Chris. So it's just like it showcases, like you have this kind of like a 3D TV built on Lens, and you can comment, and that's where the kind of like a social layer perspective comes, because you can just integrate Lens into any existing application, especially Web3 application, because Lens audience is Web3 native. So if you have a project that is Web3, or you want to share news to a Web3 audience, that's where basically that's what the most interest is. That's a connecting interest between all the people on Lens. But because they're also humans, they have different kinds of identities. They talk about music. They talk about different. I've been posting a lot of things about UBI, universal basic income, and asking questions from the Lens users, for example. So there's different kinds of interest, and effectively the way I explain is that we've taken different kinds of properties of a social media network and made them into a Web3 format, and offered them that as a package that these applications and engineers, they can actually choose what they want to use from. So some of the things are on-chain infrastructure, some of them are off-chain infrastructure, and it really depends on the use case. But the easiest way to actually add Lens is just integrating maybe the comments part that you can allow Lens users to comment into your Web3 application. So effectively, what we will see in the future is that Lens could be pretty much everywhere, and it doesn't need to effectively be about social media. But if you want to make blockchain more social, Lens is the way to do it.
Absolutely. And Stani, this is going to be a fun question. This is the question that everyone always asks, everyone always wants to know. When token, when airdrop? Lens tweeted an emoji of a parachute a little while ago and then deleted it, caused a whole bunch of speculation. So when airdrop?
So just to give some history and background, so Lens in the state that it is, so we've been building the protocol for a year and a half. For the past, the mainnet release was last year's May. So been roughly over the past almost year focusing on the version 2 of the Lens protocol. So we're very tech-driven team. So we do a lot of research on what the users like and what kind of features are important for the people who are building with Lens, and trying to improve different kinds of parts that we have currently. So we're focusing on the version 2 of the Lens protocol. and hopefully are able to launch quite soon. And there's a lot of interesting improvements, but additional features that will take the Lens protocol to another dimension. We also have in mind how kind of like the Lens v3 of the protocol will look like, and I think that's the part of where it's going to look like a bit more of having pretty much a set of Web3 social primitives that could be applied to any particular use case. Then we're working quite a lot on the scalability aspect that we are focusing now as well. So our goal is effectively ensure that Lens can scale into mainstream. And just to give another example is that Twitter had 25,000 transactions per second during the World Cup FIFA Championships final game, and our solution could do 50,000 transactions per second, so twice of the amount of that. So it just showcases like kind of like the tech that we're focusing at this point. So that's where all my energy is pretty much going, and also half of my energy is going into the Aave ecosystem as well. So it's that's where things are now.
Gotcha. So do you have any comment on the deleted tweet that everyone always wants to know about?
We can talk more about Aave.
Okay. Very cool. That's a good segue. So talk about Go is coming out for anyone that's listening on this audio only. GHO, which is a stablecoin created by Aave. So what is Go? A lot of protocols are coming out with stablecoins now. It's a huge area that a lot of people are working on. And what is Go, and why do we need another stablecoin?
Yeah, so Go is a over-collateralized stablecoin that is backed by the over-collateralization of the Aave market. And it's different than what we've seen in the past because you can actually earn on your collateral when you supply into the Aave protocol, and also mint Go. What's fascinating for me, kind of like what I personally want to solve, is that we've created quite amazing infrastructure in decentralized finance. So we have a way to earn yields. We have a way to swap assets between one asset to another in a way where you don't give up custody, and have it in a transparent way. What I think is valuable to solve now is the idea of how we could actually solve payments as well, because if you think about Bitcoin, the original idea was to solve ability to settle peer-to-peer transactions, and with Ethereum what happened is that we have this virtual computer, so you can create programmable finance, but something that we haven't solved quite yet is the payment aspect. So how we can actually start using blockchain-based payments. And I think that's where Go has a lot of potential. So it's not going to be only focusing on the liquidity in decentralized finance, but actually how we can get Go into places where there's 100 or 50% of inflation. Argentina being a very good example of that. So we want to kind of like build better infrastructures for Go to be a bit more in the payments infrastructure.
Very cool. And then let's switch gears a little bit here and kind of ask some off the wall things that are kind of random, kind of fun here. I'm sure you saw Balaji's $1 million Bitcoin price in 90 days bet. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it was quite a handsome bet. Not really. I mean, yeah. I don't know if I should bet something higher just for the sake of fun, but I mean, it's Bitcoin has its own interesting properties. I mean, effectively, it's a store of energy, converting units of energy into units of account, and it's interesting to see what path Bitcoin will take in the future. I do think it has a extremely important place in the whole crypto space. In terms of like valuations, I have no idea. I focus mainly on the tech side of everything that I do, and I mean I wish that that prediction will come true.
But you're bullish.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll do a little rapid fire here. French fries, crispy or soft?
Something in the middle.
Something in the middle. Okay. Pizza or burger?
This is a hard one. I would say I want to say both, but I would say pizza.
Okay. And if you could only have one for the rest of your life, ice cream or soda?
Definitely soda.
How do you drink your coffee?
With milk, usually a cappuccino or espresso. But
Do you
I like the
ski?
most. Just to give some details, I liked the drip coffee. That's the one I've been enjoying lately.
With a little milk in it.
Yeah,
Cool. Do you ski or snowboard?
ski.
So beach or mountains?
I would say beach.
Okay. Who do you think is one of the most underrated lens creators?
This is a hard one because whenever I stumble upon a new creator on Lens, I kind of feel that, yeah, like I kind of always feel that you have undervalued. Like I think the network is full of undervalued creators, and it's actually quite fascinating to see. I've seen like the creators that have been already in the platform for half a year, and they have like their audiences and their fans. um, I'm super interested in seeing like, because everyone in Lens in some way are undervalued, that what happens in few years, and how this network that they create, that they actually own, will help them. But I think all of the creators on Lens are undervalued gems.
I agree. And how would you define social capital? I think we missed that.
Yeah, well, financial capital is just units of numbers in your some sort of ledger, where it has like exchangeable value. Um, in terms of social capital, it's something that you create because of your identity and your social behavior. So interesting thing is that financial capital is something that some folks have. Social capital is that what every single person on the planet has. Just an example is that if you um, if you ask sugar from your neighbors and they lend it out to you, that's a transaction based on social capital because your neighbor knows you. Um, then um, if you, for example, lose your lens profile for some reason, you can still recreate your audience by flagging that, hey, here's my new profile, like disregard the old one. So it's something that is very hard to kind of like take from you. Um, and it definitely is something very new and unique, because now that you're able to like concretely own it on a online environment more freely, it creates a interesting um, philosophical questions as well. So that's social capital.
Very good. And then a couple more quick questions here. You're from Finland, so did you grow up playing ice hockey, and do you have a favorite Finnish hockey player?
Yeah. I grew up playing ice hockey. I think um, I, I I played until I was I think 15, 16. So I went to a sports high school as well. So it was a big part of my life. I think I had every day either one or two practices. So I think the best player ever is Teemu Selänne. He's quite an OG in the Finnish ice hockey. I think that's probably my favorite.
He's a legend. He's a legend. I'm from North Carolina, and the Carolina Hurricanes have Sebastian Aho, who is on a
Oh yeah,
tear.
he's good too.
He's my favorite right now. In what position did you play?
Forward. So I played forward, but also I played couple of seasons in defense as well.
Very
Defense
cool.
is harder. It's a lot of responsibility.
It's not as much fun either. Scoring goals
Yeah.
is more fun. Okay, couple more. What is the most degen purchase that you've made?
Most degen. Oh my god, there's so many. I think probably crypto dig bots is quite degen.
Yeah. Do you still have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I never sold like an NFT, maybe one or two, but most of them I have. So
Very cool. And then what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
what is the most that people don't know about me? I there are probably a lot of things as well, but what I think it's interesting is that I love to run a lot. So that's something that is I like to do in my free time. I haven't been able to do that much since the launch of the Lens protocol, but that's something I normally do and want to do more often.
Awesome. And then last question. First of all, congratulations on being a future dad. And what are you most excited about? And the one question that people were dying to know, have you decided on a baby name yet?
Thank you so much. It's definitely going to be also like a busy year because of that. There is some potential candidates for the baby names. Chad could be one. Little Chad. But yeah, nothing set in stone yet.
Very cool.
But if when I know it, I will definitely share on Lens.
Awesome. Well, do you have any final thoughts or any questions for me as we wrap up here?
Maybe nothing special. What's been most exciting for you, kind of like as a creator's perspective on Lens?
It's interesting, and one of the reasons I most got interested in Lens in the first place, even as a creator, was the developer ecosystem. It's what's the quote? Whatever the devs are working on nights and weekends is the future of tech. And then what looks like a toy today is actually the future, right? So as a creator, those tools that I think that are going to come are going to be incredibly interesting. It's just been a lot of fun. There's so much love in the community, being a creator on Lens and meeting a lot of the people there. And then, the ability, and then as a creator, wanting to grow my community and my following, being able to take my followers from app to app, it's interesting that, if Lens works, which I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it was going to, but in the future, if all of this plays out in the next decade, the people that are putting in the blood, sweat, and tears today to build a following, to grow a community, I think are going to pay massive dividends for the creators that are here and stick around. So those are the things that I'm most excited about and reason why I'm here in the community.
No, that's amazing to hear. And I think it's something that like reinforces our ideas about why and our vision why we're building here. And it's always like super exciting to see that. I get super happy when I see Chris your post specifically, because it like reinforces the reason why we are building Lens and why it's valuable. So it's super nice to hear that.
I appreciate that, Stani. Thank you. Well, Stani, thank you. This has been a blast. For everyone listening in, thank you for sticking with us this long. Stani, keep it up. We as a community are rooting for you as a builder, and all the team and everyone on the Lens team, on the growth team and everyone that's helping. The community is grateful for you, and we're excited to see where the future goes. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me.